Hey Tube, it's me, Ambi. So I got the camera back. Well, actually, I didn't really get it back. I stole it from my mom's secret hiding place. So, guess what? My Angry Bird shirt. I bought it yesterday, and apparently this is a boy's shirt, but I got it in a small, so it fits pretty nicely. I love these crazy little birds because they're always so angry, like. But anyway, enough of me being crazy and all. Remember when I told you guys in not my last video, but the one when I was talking about how I was going to read that book called If I Ever Got the Camera Back, which I did. I was going to do a little vlog, which I think would be my vlog number 3. 3, I think. I think it's number 3. Maybe 4. I don't know, but I think it's 3. Anyway, I was going to vlog about the previous books that I read, and like I said, it's not a lot, but I mean, I had read a lot, but I don't want to include the little like kiddie / tween books. I want to count the more of the teen / young adult books. So anyway, I'm going to go from previous to recent. And some of the books I haven't read, I mean, well, I've read them obviously, but I don't have them with me. But I'm just going to start off with, I wrote it down because I am prepared, you guys. Alright, the first one is 13 little blue envelopes or envelopes, whichever way you like to say it. Envelopes, potato, tomato, tomato. You get my drift. And I think her name is Maureen. Okay, maybe I've been out of school too long because I guess I can't read. But anyway, I think her name is Maureen Johnson. And quick summary, if you haven't read that book, it's about this girl named Jenny who has an aunt named Peg. And she like went off to Europe for 3 years and never told anybody. And she got like a couple letters from her, but not that much. And one day she gets a call that she died, and I don't really know where she goes, but I know she gets $1,000, and she gets this envelope that gives her some instructions, basically to go to Europe. And before she goes, she has to, I guess she has to go to like this post office or somewhere to get the rest of the envelope that her aunt gave her. And like each envelope has a certain instruction on it. Since there's 13, you can't open the next one until you finish the instructions on the first one. And this girl, she goes to Europe, she meets this guy, and she basically goes on an adventure because her aunt practically made her life interesting, you know, gave her meaning. So, yeah, that was a good book. So, that was the first one, and I guess you guys should go read that because it was pretty awesome. Another book that I'm pretty sure you guys have either read and or seen the movie to would be The Princess Diaries. Now, me, when I first got the book, I didn't know which one I was getting, so I just picked one up, and I was getting the second one, actually, which is, you know, when Mia, she's in Genovia, yes, she's in Genovia, and she's, what, 18, I think? 18, 19, 20, something like that. Anyway, she has to get married to a prince, and, you know, she has to hurry up and find one before she can actually become Queen of Genovia. And she goes through all that trouble, but then, you know, there's still some feelings for her best friend's brother. So, you know, if you haven't read that book, you should go watch the movie. But either or, both are really great. So that's my second book. Okay, now for the third selection. Well, actually, this is more of a 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th selection because everybody knows about this book. Twilight, Edward, Bella, Jacob, amazing. Now, oh crap. Now, I've read all the books, seen all the movies besides Breaking Dawn, which I believe is coming out this November or December, which I am going to go see. But, oh, by the way, I am Team Jacob all the way. Yes. I know Edward is better, but if you've ever read Eclipse, speaking of which is right here, if you've ever read Eclipse and you have heard about Jacob's story, Jacob is a pretty cool kid. except for his little problem where I don't want to tell you guys in case you read the book, because if you have, you know that little problem of his that he has, which could never, ever, ever, ever make room for him and Bella. But at the time, I only possessed Eclipse and Breaking Dawn, but I read all the books, and I do own New Moon, but I don't have it because I gave it to my best friend, and she has failed to read that book yet. And I've read Twilight, of course, but I don't have that book. But anyway, these are some really good books. Breaking Dawn has probably have to be the thickest book I have ever read in my life. 38 chapters. I feel that if I can read this book, I can read anything. But then again, if you ever seen the Chronicles of Narnia, which I have not read the book, nor have I seen any of the movies. No, actually, I take that back. No, I haven't seen any of the movies. But if you've ever read the Chronicles of Narnia, that is a pretty thick book, okay? And it's thicker than this and longer. And I was like, I don't know. Because this gave me trouble. Actually, I read this whole book, I'm not even kidding, probably like 8 to 10 months. Only because when it was like I would get to a chapter, because like the writing in this thing is, I mean, it's not that small, but just look at this, okay? That is some pretty, this is like what, 12-inch, maybe 11-inch font, okay? I don't care what anybody says, but this writing made my eyes hurt, and I would get tired, and I would just put my bookmark in there, and I'm like, I will read this later, and I would like put it down, and I pick it up like every 3 months. But I finally finished it, and this was a good book. This whole series, all these series were amazing. So a lot of my friends are like, why do you read Twilight? Why don't you just go watch the movies? You know why? Because Twilight, the very first movie, that shit sucked, okay? I fell asleep the first time I watched it. Then when I watched it again, I didn't like it. So I was like, really? They took out so much. But I will admit, New Moon and Eclipse, those two, because they have more action and more fighting and more werewolves, I love it. I can't wait for Breaking Dawn. And those are like my 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. So enjoy those books. And enjoy some of the movies, I suppose. Okay. This video is going to be kind of long, I suppose. But, oh, I don't care. If you guys like me and what I'm talking about, then you should enjoy this. So the next book I have is The Rules of Survival by Nancy Werlin. Now, my freshman year of high school, I was in what we call reading seminar, which is probably just a fancy word for honors reading. And we had to pick, well, actually, we didn't have to do this. We were reading all these kind of dull books, like, well, they weren't really that dull. Like, we read a book called Johnny Got a Gun, which I kind of enjoyed, surprisingly. We read about, J.D. Salinger. We read about some of his weird books. Some of them were interesting, some of them weren't. But we came up to the conclusion, like, well, it wasn't a lot of us in the class. It was probably about, like, maybe 15 of us. We were like, hey, can we pick a book that we want to read, you know? And he was like, well, you can't all read the same book because maybe everybody doesn't want to read the same book that somebody else does. So he came up with this idea that everybody reads their own book. And then, like, we just have little discussions about it. Because apparently he read all the books that we chose. And we just, you know, talked about it with everyone else. While he just knew it all, whatever. So I picked this book. And this book is really good. It's about these 3 kids. They're all related. They're all siblings. And they have the craziest mother in the world. Like, their mother is terrible. She has, her oldest son, she cut him once, like stabbed him because he tried to get an Oreo. Her, middle child, the middle one, her daughter, apparently her hair used to be really, well, her hair wasn't really long, but it was a nice length. And their mom, her hair used to be like, I guess like mid-back length, like down here. And one time she told her daughter to measure her hair for her. And her mom was like, well, I mean, not her mom, her daughter said it's probably about, I don't know, maybe a whole foot or more. Well, obviously it was more, but it was a pretty long length. And I guess it wasn't long enough for her mom. So her mom took her daughter's hair and just cut it all off till she was like practically bald and she had to wear a baseball cap for a really long time. And then her youngest daughter, She hung her by her feet over a cliff. And I'm reading this stuff and I'm like, man, like, lady, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know, you crackhead? What? You need rehab, professional help, psychology, something. And, you know, they kind of live in this apartment, and their aunt lives there too, but her aunt is so soft-spoken, doesn't have anything to say, can't stick up for herself. This book was amazing. The only thing I didn't like about this, well, I love this book, but the thing I didn't like is because my teacher is so weird, he told us for a grade, we had to, like, write in the book. Like, actually write, like, say what we feel and give, like, little emotions and stuff. So I had to, like, mess this whole book up. And I hate writing in books. But it was for a grade, so what can I do? So anything. Anyway, The Road to Survival, Nancy Werlin. Read it. Pretty good book. Amazing book, actually. Okay, now on to the recent books. Willow by Julia Hoban. I cannot pronounce stuff anymore. This book, if this wasn't the most, it's sad. This book is sad. It's obviously about this girl named Willow, and she accidentally killed her parents in a car accident because their parents were drinking. They drank too much wine, and they felt that they shouldn't drive, so they gave the keys to her. The road was wet. She lost control of the wheel. Both her parents died. And now she has to live with her older brother, his wife, and their baby. I don't know if this is supposed to be Willow, but I'm just going to point to her and saying this is her. She blames herself for killing them. So what she does, because cutting to the chase, she cuts herself. I didn't understand why she did it at first, but what she does is whenever she thinks about her parents dying and stuff, that's emotional pain, which you really can't control. So what she does is by cutting herself to a certain extent so she knows that she can stop, she causes herself physical pain. And because she's causing it, she can control it. And that makes her feel better. And this book was really sad. But it was really good. And I think you should read it. Julia Hoban. This is the only book she wrote. So if you ever get the chance, you should read this book. And If I Stay, I finished this. Oh, by the way, I read this book in 2 days. I read this book in 2 days, too. If I like something, I am on it, man. This book is kind of like Willow because her name is, just kidding. Her name is Maya, and I'm guessing this is her, too. I don't really know. But her parents died in a car accident, but this time her dad was driving and a truck hit them. The only weird thing about this book is it's like, okay, there's a car accident. She gets out the car. She tries to find her dad. She finds pieces of his brain like scattered all over the road. She finds her mom, but she looks like a zombie. Her skin is white. She sees a hand coming out of the car. She thinks it's her little brother's. But as she gets closer to the car, she sees that there's a bracelet on that hand. And it's the same bracelet that she was wearing when she left to go out the house. So she's looking at her, because she's not dead, but she's in grave condition, and she's rushed to the hospital, and she's flown to these different hospitals to get her medical help. And it's like she's not dead, but it's kind of like her spirit is looking at her hollow body. And there's a second part to this book. This is called If I Stay, and the other book is called Where She Went, and I cannot wait to read it. And apparently, I think I like tragic stories. Tragic and sad stories. Besides Twilight, which is... Well, Twilight's not really tragic. It's more of a love / I don't know. I just love to read. I'm a nerd. Okay, sadly, we're down to the final book. I hope I didn't bore you guys, but if you like to read as much as I do, then this should have been like a really good video for you. But my last book is The Lovely Bones. I have not read the book yet, but I've seen the movie. And if it's anything like the movie, which I like, then I'm pretty sure I will enjoy this book too. And if you haven't seen the movie, it's about this girl named Susie Salmon. She dies at 14, and she's in heaven, I assume, and she's trying to tell her dad, like, who killed her because nobody knows it's a mystery. So she's trying to get her dad to connect his dots.